Good afternoon from Baltimore, Maryland. This is the Web Doc, Peter Martin, saying hello to everybody out there. There's a couple minutes before the start of our webinar. I always like to try and start on time because I respect how busy you all are out there. The title of the webinar today is the Yelp Help You Know You Need. And it's a very exciting topic because I'm constantly being asked about Yelp. Matter of fact, I got a phone call from somebody today that was having some issues with Yelp. But unfortunately, Yelp is a big force out there, and they're just getting stronger. So this session today is going to be very beneficial for you to kind of help you navigate dealing with Yelp and, you know, kind of beating them at their own game. I'm going to share with you some insights and some tricks that we've learned and we've developed over the years dealing with Yelp that should really help you do better and get more exposure with Yelp. But while we wait, we got another about a minute before we're going to start, so I would like to start on time. I see a lot of people signed up for this webinar today. It's always, my Yelp webinars always seem to get a great response. And we're going to go through a number of topics, give you a little background. This is many trainings I've done on Yelp. So I've been doing this for probably 3 or 4 years and talking about online reputation and Yelp in particular. So I've gone, you know, down this path, and I've had a lot of people we've helped with Yelp. So I'm going to share some of the things that we've done, and I'm going to share some things we've done that haven't worked as well. So again, my name is Peter Martin. I'm here in Baltimore, Maryland. My company is called Cactus Sky, and a little bit more about that as we go through. But it is about that time to start the webinar, and the first couple slides are always just basic slides, so people join. They're not going to miss anything, so I do want to start right now. So again, thank you all for joining me today, and let's get started. So first of all, a little bit about Cactus Sky and me. You know, I've been a featured speaker at NADA in the past. When I lived in Florida, I was a technology correspondent for ABC News in Sarasota, Florida. And my newest company I started a couple years ago is called Testimonial Builder, and it does tie in with online reputation and a little bit about that. There's my mugshot, so you can see I had them Photoshop out the numbers across my chest. And at the end of the session, I will put my contact information back up for anybody, because this PowerPoint, I share my PowerPoints. All my training is always available. So if you like the presentation, if there was information in there that you thought was beneficial and you wanted that information, all you have to do is email me afterwards, or if you want to give me a call, and I will send you my PowerPoint, no strings attached. You can have it, because there's a lot of information I give you in the PowerPoint, and sometimes we go a little bit fast because, you know, I try to keep this to 30 minutes. But I'm more than happy to give you the PowerPoint. At the end of the session, I always save some time for questions. So if you have questions, please, you know, save them for the end, and then I will answer all of your questions at the end of the webinar. There's 4 or 5 key objectives today. First of all, I'm going to go over Online Reputation 101. I want to go over some of the basics, because some people, you know, it's important that we touch on some of the basics. Then we're going to talk about claiming your Yelp listing. It's amazing to me how many businesses today still have not claimed their Yelp listing. Then we're going to talk about the Yelp check-in feature. We're going to spend a lot of time on that, because that is one of the most important parts of this presentation. Then we're going to talk a little bit about how to use email to build reviews. And then, of course, we're going to dive into the questions and answers. So let's talk about Online Reputation 101. Bottom line, especially with Yelp, people leave reviews when they want to say something negative. It's very difficult to get anyone to say anything positive about your business. And if you look at Yelp, most of the reviews on Yelp are negative. There are people that are saying bad things about you, and it's a way of them attacking you. I do some work with RV dealers, and I've noticed in the RV industry that people actually will threaten the dealers with giving them a bad review if they don't do this or that for them. I had one of them that actually wanted a new mattress for his RV, and he actually sent an email, if you don't give me this new mattress for free, I'm going to give you a bad review on Yelp. So it's a very big problem, because people are realizing that as business owners, we all are concerned about our online reputation because of the negative impact it has, and they're actually using that as a bargaining tool against us, and sometimes even as a blackmail tool. One of the things that I want to share with you is this, and I know we all know that people are doing their online research, but the problem is today that online reviews and testimonials have as much impact on the shopper's decision to do business with you as a personal recommendation did in the past. It has a huge impact. And one of the things that we found in helping people with their online reputation is we would do email marketing. I'll show you some examples later, where we would email the people after they left the company or the dealership and ask them for a good review. What we found is that 80% of the people, 80% of the people that clicked on any of the links in the email clicked on the link for not satisfied. And I'll show you a sample of that a little bit further. But I share that with you because it's an important thing to keep in the back of your mind. People like to complain. And one of the reasons why Testimonial Builder came to be a company is because we found out that trying to get a testimonial or a review from somebody after they've left your business or your dealership is very difficult to do, and it's better to get it when somebody is at your place of business. Specifically in the car business, and this is a very scary number right here, 19 out of every 100 cars sold will result in a negative review. Think about that for a second. 19 out of every 100 cars sold is going to end up in a negative review. That's a frightening number. And what we're finding is that consumers are going to travel further to do business with a business or a dealership that has a good online reputation, especially when it comes to service. So they may buy the car from you, but if you have a bad online reputation, they're going to take their car to a dealership that has a better reputation. Now, when we're talking specifically about Yelp, I want to point this out to you. A 1-star increase in a Yelp rating leads to a 5 to 9% increase in revenue. Think about how that could affect your bottom line. And why that is so powerful with Yelp in particular is this. Yelpers are, and I don't want to say this and sound like a negative person, but Yelpers are kind of cliquey. You know, they're kind of culty. And they follow other Yelpers. They listen to other Yelpers. So if a Yelper gives a restaurant, for example, a bad review, it's going to have a direct impact because other Yelpers will not set foot in that restaurant. I ended up having to become a Yelper years ago to learn and really become part of that community. And I will tell you that 2 things that are very important that I learned is Yelp knows where you are. So they do track you because when I do my traveling and I start Yelping, I will actually get emails asking Yelp to confirm that I'm in California or I'm in Las Vegas or wherever I am because I'm starting to put Yelp reviews. They want to make sure that it's really me that are leaving the reviews. Remember that when we talk about the check-in feature later. The other thing is that other Yelpers will, on a regular basis, email me or send me a message thanking me for my reviews, you know, and thanking me and complimenting me on my reviews. So they do pay attention, and there's a lot of community and sense of, you know, friendship with these Yelpers. So when you build trust with the Yelp community, you can really have a very positive impact on your business. Yelp, these are, you know, statistically probably a little bit outdated, but still, 75 million monthly unique desktop visitors, 86 million monthly unique mobile visitors, and as of May 2016, 102 million reviews posted, and that's way outdated because I can tell you it's considerably more than that. But let's go back to what we need to do to get started. The first thing we need to do is you need to claim your Yelp listing. And that is very important because it doesn't make a difference what business you are, whether you're a car dealer, a dentist, a doctor, a dry cleaners. Yelp initially started out for restaurants, but now it has expanded into all businesses. And Yelp has got a huge business going. It is free to claim and create and edit and optimize your online business listing. You need to do that because now you're going to have a dedicated audience that is going to be paying attention to that. So you really want to start by claiming your Yelp listing. Now this is an example of an unclaimed Yelp listing. And what I want to point out here, if you look at right above the Insightly little message down here, work here, claim this business. This was an RV dealer that didn't claim their business. If you go to your Yelp listing and this is available right here, that means your business has not been claimed. And I will tell you, it's very important because somebody can come along and claim your business that doesn't work for you. And we've actually had situations where people have done that to try and hurt their competitors. Now, I will tell you, it's very important that whatever email you use to claim that listing, you make sure that is a corporate-owned email. Don't go to your assistant and say, hey, go claim the Yelp listing for me, and have them go claim it with their email address. Because if they leave and take another job, you are going to have a very hard time doing anything with your account unless you have access to that email account. So please make a note of that. So you claim your listing, you go and you start putting your information in there, and you want to make it as comprehensive as possible. And the more photos you add, the better off you're going to be. So now that you've got your listing claimed and you're building out your site, it's important that you start responding to the reviews, both privately and publicly. And let's talk about this for a second. If somebody leaves you a bad review, you have to be very careful with how you respond to that, because people are watching how you respond. What I recommend is, because if they're a true Yelper, you're going to be able to access and find out who they are. You're better off contacting them privately and trying to resolve the problem. Because no matter what you say, okay, online, it's now documented for everyone to see. So if you're going back and forth and you're having conversations with them, everybody can see that. You're better off trying to address any issues in a private format and get them resolved. And once you resolve them, then you can go back to the person and say, would you be so kind as to update or take down your bad review? And most people are willing to do that. We had a car dealer client one day, and we were in his office, and we saw a bad review. He immediately picked up the phone, contacted the person, and we fixed the problem in a matter of, a couple of days, and the person took down the negative review. So you want to try and keep that very clean and very simple. Now, this is a section that a lot of people don't understand, so I'm going to go into a little bit of detail, and I apologize for those of you that do understand it. One of the benefits of Yelp, and the reason why Yelp has so much credibility, is they do a lot to ensure that these reviews are true reviews. So they have what they call a check-in feature. So when somebody is at your business, it gives them the ability to check in before they actually leave a review. Why that is critical is this. If I'm standing in Reichard Ford in Columbus, Ohio, and I check in, Yelp, because it is a GPS-based system, knows that I am actually at the dealership. That is a critical piece of building your online reviews on Yelp, because Yelp can filter, your reviews, and we know a lot of people have had that experience. But when you check in first and then later leave a review, or even the same day leave a review, Yelp knows that you were actually at that business, you were at that car dealership, you were at that dentist's office, and then you left a review, so they know that it is a verified review. So even if you're not a regular Yelper, but if you follow the check-in process, your review has a very high likelihood of getting published and not getting filtered. So check-in is very important. So how do you do that? You want to let people know that if you check in, you're going to get something free. I was at a restaurant yesterday, and I'm going to send this out to everybody afterwards. I'm going to take a picture of it. But I was at a restaurant yesterday, and they had a little card, a cardboard card, on the table, and it said, check in on Yelp and get free bacon. Like, okay, so now you're basically buying my my check-in. But you know what? I guarantee you there are a lot of people in that restaurant that every morning are getting some free bacon by checking in. So you want to check, and you want to give them an incentive. So you can put a little table topper up. You can make some stuff, put some stickers up around the building, up around the dealership, on your windows. But when they check in, it's very important, because now Yelp knows that that person is actually at your dealership or in your place of business. And then by doing it, you can offer them something. You want to give them some sort of benefit for that. Now, there's two reasons for this. A lot of restaurants will give you a free dessert or a free appetizer next time you come back in. For car dealerships, you can do a discount. What I recommend for my car dealership clients is this. Have them check in and have it immediately pop up and say, congratulations, you have just received a complimentary safety inspection. We all give safety inspections for free, so it's not like we're doing something that's out of the norm, but we don't publicize it. So now that person, they just checked in at your dealership, they're in your waiting area. Now they basically, in the pop-up, it says, bring this to the cashier to receive your complimentary safety inspection. When she walks up to the cashier, she simply says, look, I get a complimentary safety inspection. Now the dealership is made aware that we have a Yelper in the house, and we need to make sure that we do everything perfect as best we can to make sure that we do a great job, because we've got a potential review sitting there. And a review, because she's checked in, that has a very high probability of getting published on Yelp. So what I typically recommend is when The cashier is made aware that we have a Yelper in the house. She immediately goes and tells the service manager, hey, this is Miss Smith. We've got a Yelper in the house. The service manager can now take some initiative, go out there and make sure that car is being taken care of properly. I also recommend that that service manager deliver the car. When that person's picking up their car, he does the walk around with them, and at the end, thanks them for their business, and then he personally asks them, you know, if you're satisfied with our service today, would you be so kind as to leave us a review on Yelp? You've got to close the loop. Think about it this way. We know we've got a potential review on Yelp in the house. Whether you're a car dealership, you're a dentist, it doesn't make a difference, but you know you've got that person in the house. You need to do everything humanly possible, okay, to kiss their rear end to make sure that then when they walk out of your business or your dealership, they are singing your praises, because the impact that that positive review will have on your business goes straight to the bottom line. So that's kind of what my process is. Your check-ins are a very important part, like we talked about, because it also helps you rank. So when you are using the check-in features, you want to do as many possible things you can. And here's just a couple examples. You know, you can make up little business cards, you know, that you can sit around there. You can give them out. I've had people that actually use a QR code. Believe it or not, they're still being used. But for a small business, you can generate a lot of additional business by simply doing the check-in process. And like I said earlier, I'm more than happy to give you the PowerPoint afterwards, and you can use it and take this information. I'm more than happy to answer any questions after if you want to call me. So we've talked about the key things on what you do when the person is at your business. The next way to build Yelp reviews is to use email to build Yelp reviews. But the single most important thing you want to do when you send out an email to anybody asking for a review is you want to make sure that if they're not satisfied, they have a way to respond to you. So this is an example of one of our car dealers. It's an email that goes out automatically to anybody who's been in the dealership for sales or service within 48 hours of them leaving. And it's just, you know, personalized. Dear so-and-so, thank you for choosing. Has a little video they can play. But what it does is ask them to leave a review on any of the review sites. For medical practitioners, there's a whole series of websites, you know, WebMD, things like that, where you want to get a review. But the key is, no matter what review sites you're asking them to leave your review on, you want to make sure that you have a button labeled not satisfied. You have to have some way for them to click on the not satisfied button, because we want them to complain privately. Remember what I said earlier about, you know, how Testimonial Builder came into existence? We found out that when sending out these emails, 80% of the people are going to click on not satisfied. But if you do that properly, okay, and you fix the problem, you not only prevented a negative review from being published about you, but more importantly, after you fix a problem, you can go back to that person and say, hey, Mr. Jones, now that we've satisfied, you know, and fixed this problem, would you be so kind as to leave me a review? And now you can actually direct them specifically to whichever review site is most important to you. And if Yelp is, you can simply say, would you go leave us a review on Yelp? It's very important to do that, because unfortunately, most people today, when they're given an opportunity to complain, they're going to complain. And this is a statistic I love. 90% of customers will come back to you if you address their concern. It might be something simple. A lot of times, it's just they want to be heard. Now, one of the things I always ask people to do after my webinar on Yelp is this, okay? Most people today have an iPhone, okay? And iPhone is connected, Siri on the iPhone is connected with Yelp. So after this call, after we finish this webinar today, what I'd like you to do, if you have an iPhone, is simply take your iPhone and whatever business you are, I want you to simply say, if I'm a car dealer, I want you to say, Ford dealers near my location. Ask Siri for that. Or if I'm a dentist, general dentist near my location. If I'm a plumber, plumbers near my location. Ask Siri for the business that you're in at your location. A lot of you are going to be very, very disappointed to see that you do not show up. Think about it. People are using their phone for shopping. So if I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, I'm looking for a plumber, I'm grabbing my phone, I'm saying to Siri, plumbers near my location. If you do not have your Yelp listing claimed and reviews on there, you are going to be invisible to Yelp, i.e. you're going to be invisible to Siri. So if you want to be found on Siri through the iPhone, you need to make sure that you have Yelp and you're doing your Yelp properly. So it's very important. I was in Las Vegas not too long ago doing a speech, and I said, actually said Ford dealers near my location. Would you believe that only 2 Ford dealerships showed up in Las Vegas, Nevada? Well, there's a lot more than 2 Ford dealerships in Las Vegas, Nevada, and there's close to 8. But that's my point. And you'll be very surprised, and you'll be able to see right away whether or not your team or yourself is doing a good job with Yelp just by doing that simple little test. So let's review. The more stars you get, the more money you're going to make. Number 2, probably the most important takeaway from this session today is please go claim your Yelp listing if you haven't done so already. Then last is let's start working on a Yelp check-in feature. Figure out what you want to do. And then you ask for the review. If the situation is bad, you fix the situation. And before we start going into some of the questions, I'm going to pop up this screen so you can take some notes here. You can always look at it later. These are some suggested resources you can take a look at. But I want to digress a second or two because this is an important part of this topic. Yelp is like the mafia, okay? And I say that because they are. As you start getting more Yelp reviews, you are going to get the dreaded Yelp marketing phone call where they're going to call you up and they're going to want to sell you advertising. Now, if you follow what I'm teaching you today, you're going to start getting more reviews, and you're going to have reviews that are unfiltered. When you get that call, and it's all created by an algorithm, okay, they have Yelp is watching all the people. They start seeing businesses get more reviews. They send the information over to a call center. Somebody in the call center picks up the phone and calls you to try and sell you an advertising package. If you make the mistake and tell them, no, I'm not going to buy anything, usually within 24 to 48 hours, all of those reviews that were published have now all of a sudden become filtered. I know that sounds horrible, but it's what is happening out there. It's what's being done, and they've been sued about it. There's been all kinds of battles. I've had clients where they're, oh, we're going to sue Yelp. The end of the day is they've won the lawsuits defending that situation. I equate them to, if you remember the old Godfather movies where the Guido the killer pimp goes into the business and the little shop owner opens up the cash register and he takes out a couple $100 and gives it to him for protection money. It's the same thing. If you want to protect your online reputation, you need to pay Yelp. And you just have to consider, put it in as an advertising expense. It's the cost of doing business today. Matter of fact, there's a documentary being filmed, Yelp, the billion-dollar bully, okay? That's what we're dealing with. But let me tell you how to deal with that situation and get around it. When you get that dreaded phone call from one of their telemarketers, remember, they're telemarketers. They're people sitting in a room, calling people all day, getting hung up on, and getting yelled at. If you're nice to them and just say, well, tell me about what you have, play the game. Most of you on this call are business people, you're salespeople, you know how to play the game. Oh, well, tell me a little bit more about what you do. Okay, and what's that going to do for my business? You know, and then go and say, well, you know what? I really want to do this, but I have to go talk to my owner. I need to go talk to the marketing director, find out what we have available. Play the game with them. Come back and give them a little budget. And the word track could be, hey, you know, we really want to participate, but right now we don't have a lot of budget allocated because we do all of our budgeting 6 months in advance. You know, I was able to squeeze $200 a month. What can we do for $200 a month? I've got an RV dealer, a client of mine, who spends $100 a month, and Yelp leaves him alone. His reviews are being published. If he has a problem, he calls them up and they work with him and stuff like this. The people that are calling you, okay, they don't know how big you are or how small you are or what you do or what you can afford, what you can't afford. All they care about is being able to tell their boss that they sold something that day. They got through to somebody and they sold something because their commissions are all based upon their results. So whether it's a $20 sale or a $2,000 sale, it doesn't make a difference. They just want to get a sale. So if you understand the people you're dealing with and you play the game, you can beat Yelp at their own game. But please don't just say no and reject them, because I promise you, if you do, the next thing you know, all of that hard work that you've been doing to start getting the reviews, they'll all of a sudden become filtered. Mark my word on it. And I know everybody's on the phone, you know, on the other end of the phone listening to me saying, that can't happen, that's not true, that's extortion, yada, yada, yada. Folks, I'm just telling you the way it is. So don't shoot the messenger. So with that being said, a couple action items. First thing you do is your action item is review your current online reputation strategy. If you don't have one, you need to get one. The next thing you do is to check to make sure that you are showing up. And if you're not, claim your listing. Then you want to set up your Yelp check-in offer. And then last but not least, and I know it doesn't work that well. I mean, it's, you know, 80% of the people are going to leave a bad review, okay? But you still want to do that because 2, 3, 4 reviews a month that you get by sending out emails to your customers is going to help your bottom line. It seems like a lot of work, but it really isn't. You can set up an email system where you take all of your new customers that come in and you send them an email out once a month. It's not a hard thing to do. You set it up, but I will tell you, if you are going to do emailing, make sure you use a marketing automation platform because it takes more than one email. There's a large company out there called Reputation.com, and they were actually a client of mine for a while doing some email marketing for them at Cactus Guy, and they told me that it takes an average of 7 to 10 emails for them to get to somebody to leave a review. 7 to 10 emails. So don't just expect that you're going to send out one email and someone's going to leave you a review. You're going to have to send out at least 3, maybe as many as 5. You know, I don't think 7 to 10 is really necessary because that's a third party doing it, but when you're sending it out as the business that provided the service, you're going to get better results. So now, while we've got a little bit of time left, let me open up to any questions and answers for you. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and fire them over. And you just got to understand, you got to give me a second or two so I can actually read it. Okay, here we go. Okay, someone said that they did try the check-in feature and it did get suppressed. That is something that does happen from time to time. It usually does not happen if somebody is a Yelper, but it will sometimes happen if it's somebody's first time Yelping. They will review it because it could be determined by the completeness of their profile. If they don't have a complete profile, and that's why a lot of times if you get a bad review and you go look at the person's profile and you can pretty much easily tell that it's a fake person leaving a negative review, you can go back to Yelp and they will take it down and they'll look at that. Okay, another question coming. Okay. The next question is a good one, and unfortunately, I don't work for Yelp. Matter of fact, if they heard this webinar, they probably wouldn't be too happy with me. So please don't send a copy of it to them. But they change their pricing, and they have all different types of pricing programs. I've seen it as little as a couple $100s, and they got some that are a couple thousand. It really depends on the business, but when they call, like I said, just kind of find out what they have to offer and go down that path. Okay. They said that Yelp created an algorithm change in 2017, recently suppressed all reviews that came from an email link. Okay, what you're talking about is those were emails that were sent out and they were done by a third-party company, and that's true. So they did have an algorithm. But when you're sending an email from the business to a customer, you know, and then you're asking them to leave a review, those reviews are not getting suppressed from what I've seen. Looking for some really good questions coming across. Unfortunately, they give me like a little tiny screen to read, so give me a second here. Okay, here's some questions as far as tips to responding to negative reviews. The first thing is, okay, if at all possible, don't respond, okay? go and contact the person directly. Find out who they are and contact them directly. You can either email them. Sometimes they'll have a phone number available, but you want to try and contact them because whatever you say, you know, can be misconstrued. But there's a rule of thumb in responding is count to 10. Count to 10 because a lot of times you're heated because you feel like you're being taken advantage of or whatever. So you don't want to respond because if you respond aggressively or in a tone where it might be construed as aggressive, people will look at that negatively upon you. If there's truly a problem and you can resolve it privately, my recommendation is do it privately and then ask them to respond or remove that bad review, and they will usually do that. Or you could go back in there and ask them to just change it. So now all of a sudden somebody can see there was a problem and then you fixed it. If you are going to respond to the review, you want to make sure that you are very short and concise and give as little information as possible because you don't want to go into a lot of details that could be, you know, held against you. But you simply just want to try to address it and be compassionate and be polite. But you have to be careful because a lot of times people will respond out of anger and it is actually more damaging to them overall. Here's one. We have a budget of Yelp of over $1,000 a month, and that was our starting point. What are your thoughts on reducing our budget? Do you think this would piss Yelp off enough to reduce our current reviews? Well, anytime somebody loses revenue, they're going to be unhappy. What I would do possibly is maybe just reduce it by a small little amount. Say we're having to restructure our budget a little bit, we're having a bad month, and they'll usually work with you. I don't think they're going to be aggressive, but again, like I said, Yelp is a bully. Okay, if you're spending $1,000 a month and you're getting good results with them, and they're, you know, all your reviews are being published, if you can afford $1,000 a month, I would just leave it the way it is. It's not worth taking a risk because really you're rolling the dice. If you reduce it, even you reduce it $100 or $200, it may all of a sudden come back and they may basically do something negative. There's no way of knowing what goes on with those people, but I've seen literally, and this is not exaggeration, I have seen clients of mine who we have worked hard to get Yelp reviews. They get the dreaded Yelp phone call and they say, no, I'm not going to advertise. And literally, I am not exaggerating. I am not stretching the truth at all when I tell you this. The next day, all of their reviews were filtered. I could not believe it. If I hadn't seen it for my own eyes, I might be on the other end of the phone listening like you are and saying, oh, that's a bunch of BS. But I'm telling you, it happened. So if there's a possibility in the back of your mind where you think it might cause a problem and you can afford to pay the $1,000, I highly recommend you continue with that budget. And I'm sorry, that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but I'd rather just tell you the way I believe it to be. Here we go. Another question just came in. Okay, I believe you. It happened to us. Okay, so this is someone says, I believe you. It happened to us. Any tips on getting back into former Yelp performance, getting those suppressed reviews back visible? Really, the only suggestion I have for that, because we just had somebody who just told me through the question session that they actually had that happen to them, is to start working with them again, start building some reviews up, getting fresh reviews, and then after a couple months, you might want to call your rep at Yelp, because you do get a rep when you start working with them, and simply say, hey, you know, I've got these reviews that are suppressed. Is there any possibility, you know, we might be able to get some of those turned back on? And I have seen them do that. But it's one of those things where you've got to work at it. Again, these people know what they are. They know the position they have you in. So it's really one of the things where you have to be very gentle with them, work with them, and play the game with them. And let's see, a couple more questions popping in. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Okay, this is it. Okay, this is kind of a strange question. What about getting a bunch of people to give reviews all at once? I highly recommend that you do not do that, okay? They are very strict. They will, if they find out that you're putting up fake reviews or trying to create reviews, things like that, they will flag you and it will cause you more problems. You don't want to all of a sudden go out there like a bull in a china shop and start getting all of these reviews, getting people that you know, previous customers, getting all the people to start giving you reviews. Because if all of a sudden you haven't been getting, or you get like 1 review every couple months, 2 reviews, 3 reviews, and all of a sudden in 1 month you get 9 reviews, you just made their radar, okay, in a bad way. Okay, so this is a process and not an event. You have to start slow, start getting some reviews, start getting some good reviews, putting them up there, wait for the dreaded phone call, you know, work through the phone call, go through there. It's a process. Don't rush out there and try to change the Yelp situation. It's not like where you can go get a bunch of reviews and push down bad ones like you can with some other review sites. Yelp does not work like that. You have to build gradually. You have to have a slow and steady pace. That's why one of the things I mentioned earlier in my presentation was you want to have a process. You want to have a plan. So with that being said, I actually ran over a couple minutes. I do apologize, but you were just hitting me with some great questions. Here's my contact information. My email is peter@cactusguydigital.com. Feel free to email me any more questions you might have. That is my cell phone number. I'm giving you my private cell phone number. More than happy if you want to call me on my cell phone. I can help you and answer some more questions for you. But like I said, I always like to try and stay on time because I want to respect all of your time and let you know that I do webinars every single month. They're all on different topics. So keep an eye on my website, WebDoc. And if there's anything I can ever do to help you, I am more than happy to take your call or answer your emails. If you do want a copy of this presentation, just email me and I'll send it over to you right away. And as always, thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor and a privilege to spend this time with you. Hopefully, I've been helpful, and hopefully that you'll be able to take this information and go win the war against Yelp. This is Peter Martin, the WebDoc, signing off.